Crypto. Aleph Zero. Folks, when one of your colleagues, a fellow crypto analyst on YouTube, one of a small handful of which you truly like and respect, reaches out to you to ask your opinion on a coin, you know there's got to be something juicy worth looking at there. So a big shout out to Charting Crypto, who requested that I take a look at this just to give my opinion, and he says he thinks it's going to be a big player next bull run. Rumors of it partnered with Amazon. And I've seen AZERO, Aleph Zero, I've seen that name thrown out, but I'm really not familiar with it. So starting out with just a little bit of the fundamentals, I see it's got a circulating supply of 211 million, total supply of 322 million, market cap of 268 million. Now you're getting my attention. For you traders that are just looking for price action and charts, you're going to have to fast forward. But before you stick your finger down there and hit that slide button, hit that like button too, help the channel out. And for everyone else that may be looking at this for a long-term hold, well, we're going to take a little bit of the TA and a little bit of the FA, and as Dub Digital says, we're going to mix it all up, because there's something here. We're going to do a little bit of a Chicago deep dish dive on this baby, you know what I'm saying? And let me tell you, I'm pretty impressed by what I did find. All-time high for this project was $3.09, and that was just April last year, 2022. 2 months after that, it reached its all-time low of 59 cents. This is basically its chart history right here. So what is making this coin stand out to me, you may ask? My very first answer would be when I go to look for information, I can actually find it. Look, during the bear market, they've been developing, okay? Pulling up this other leg of Aleph BFT, and we'll get into that in just a second. Look, they've been busy, and their mainnet just launched December 7th, and Aleph Zero is now focused on deploying additional network features and incubating application-specific use cases utilizing zero-knowledge and multi-party computational technologies. I know this is a bunch of nerd speak, right? But folks, if you're going to invest in something, you want to dig into it a little bit. Finding the right gem at this phase in the market that has good things going for it, that have a solid use case, a solid roadmap, a solid team actively developing, still fairly unknown with a small market cap, 300 million, this could be one of those life-changing investments, one of those that you kick yourself for not getting into. So it's worth reviewing these things to see if it's willing to jump out there and take that risk. This is one of the better ones that I've seen lately. Very active socially, good sign. They have a team of 40 members, open and out there. Winner of the European FinTech Hackcelator. Finalist in the Global FinTech Hackcelator. Earned a top 5 placement in Europe's top blockchain startup of the year. 43 members. 40,000 happy users. We got pictures of the founding team right here. And if you do a little digging on something called a white paper, you can get to know about these team members. You can get to know about the advisors. You can get to know a little bit more about their partners and their investors, which they have some nice ones, AW3 being one of them. So there was a little question in my mind back on CoinGecko, well, where's the maximum supply? Well, there's not one. Now, in some cases, that's a red flag. But when you dig a little bit deeper into what Aleph Zero is and what it does. So what is Aleph Zero? Well, it's a privacy-enhancing public blockchain based on an original peer-reviewed consensus protocol and integration with the substrate stack. It solves the shortcomings of current distributed ledger technology platforms, speed, validation time, scalability, and security. They're tackling the problems. They're going after the big problems and finding answers. Its core features are scalability up to 100,000 transactions per second. Peer-reviewed like Cardano. Near free value transfer transactions is decentralized. They utilize DAG. We'll talk about that in a minute. And it implements a large rotating and random committee to achieve decentralization. It's got a common wallet. It has its own non-custodial peer-to-peer DEX. It's able to do private smart contracts. Utilizes a hub and spoke model. And this allows you to sync your application to Aleph's Zero Ledger. And it also implements file storage using API hooks that allow seamless integration into Interplanetary Field System, IPFS, a term you might want to remember. So roughly, the total supply of AZERO is about 300 million coins, with 10% inflation a year. That's 30 million coins. But here's the thing, those go to the stakers and validators, meaning to get those tokens, you have to be a staker or a validator. Contrast that with how tokens are distributed with other projects that you looked at. Now, one that's kind of similar in my mind, not so much by what it does, but a similar setup where so many coins were released in circulation and the rest distributed as rewards. One example is Osmosis. Started out with about 300 million. Osmosis had an all-time high of $11.25. Now, those are comparable market caps at that time and with the circulation, just like what we're seeing right now with AZERO. And again, AZERO just has a market cap of $269 million. Folks, what this means right now, investors are still early on this. So the token breakdown is that 23% of the tokens were allocated to the Aleph Zero Foundation and 10% were allocated to the team. and those allocated to the foundation will be spent on research and development, on marketing and operations, as well as ecosystem incentives and other operational expenses. They say a large portion of the foundation's supply will be used for the ecosystem fund. And in later stages of the project, when it's more decentralized, the community will also be able to vote on the non-core spendings of the treasury. And out of the team allocation, 80% of that 10% will be locked for 1 year and vested over 4 years. So when AZERO first kicked off in their funding rounds about 2018, early investors got in for about 4 cents. And about 50% of these coins were unlocked during the token generation event. So after the seed round and things like that, the tokens were valued about almost 6 cents. There was a special early community round that distributed 5% of the tokens, valued at about 7 cents. There was also a public pre-sale that distributed about 18% of the total token supply. And then a public sale that took place in 2021, and the value was priced at 10 cents a coin. So it appears that a lot of these coins have already been unlocked. And so Aleph uses Aleph BFT, and that's what we looked at GitHub. It's a novel DAG protocol, which means directed acyclic graphs, DAG. Now we're starting to get into all the technical stuff, which is not the purpose of this, but I want to show you just how easy this information is out there and how well that they present this. Compare this to something like XDB Digital Biz, and nobody can still tell me what that coin does. Aleph Zero, you can find them on Discord, Twitter, Reddit, Telegram, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. You can even find them on YouTube. They have their own YouTube channel. And I like that it's a staking coin. If you're going to hold something for the long term, you might as well stake it and get some rewards out of it. All I'm trying to say is that they seem like they have their act together. And if you want to find out more information, dig a little deeper for yourself, do your own research like you're supposed to do. Their white paper will spell it out for you easily. Now let's take a look at the charts, because the more I've looked at this, the more I see there are some interesting things going on here too. Now I've got the weekly support laid out over here, 65 cents, 84 cents. We'll get into targets in just a second. The first thing I want to bring your attention to, Fibonacci is definitely at play on this. Now, I'm not a harmonic trader. It is something that I am learning more and more about. But one thing that we look for in technical analysis is confluence, where we can look at things from different perspectives, different techniques, different ways, and we still come up with the same answers or very similar answers. Check this out. Price went up, came back down, tested the 786 level. Same thing when I pull a fib from this level. Price came down, bounced off the 786. There's some harmonics going on here. There's a lot of confluence with the fibs. So if you want to get an edge on this one, use your fibs. Now I'm on the weekly because it's just the easiest way to do this. And let me show you what's really stood out to me. First of all, we have this potential double bottom, Eve and Eve. Now what I'm curious about, I went with the Gate.io chart. It's got the most price action that I can pull up. And I'm just wondering if there's anything before this at all. Because if there was something like this could be part of a much bigger pattern. And just the way this area played out kind of makes me think that it is. So I can't validate that, but I can tell you one thing. We've got a double bottom situation going on here, and also a breakout of a falling wedge. Both of those are very bullish. Looking first at the falling wedge pattern that we've got there, we take the measure move from the falling wedge, put it right up here, and we come to this area around $1.53, $1.55. Now that was going from the wick. Now we measure from just the top of the wedge down to the bottom of the wedge, put that at our breakout point, and we're right here at this level, about $1.47. So we've got two little measure moves there, $1.47, $1.55 in that area. So for short-term traders, this is the area I would be looking at that we may get stalled out. Now we could get rejected, we could go sideways. Now these red lines I have are actually my weekly resistance. It's where I found support and resistance flips. Like here's a very good one, and this one right here. Those are going to be two areas that we're going to have some problems getting past. It's $1.69 and $2 and a penny. And there's another zone up here which also has confluence with two different Fibonacci measures that gave me a zone, both of them being 618s. This is between $2.15 and $2.30. The coolest thing I want to show you is that with this potential, we say potential because it's not confirmed yet, double bottom, what price is going to do is shoot up to this area where this box is, and we're going to test it. We're going to do one of three things there. We're either going to get rejected, come back down, because this falling wedge does have a 62% chance for a retest of the breakout area. Very possible we could come back down to $1.03. I hope so, because I want to pick some of this up. Our other option is to trade sideways at this area or come up above it, trade sideways, because these patterns usually do flag out once they come back up to the lip area, the neckline area. And once it does that, breaks past that point, flips this area right here into support. We have a measure move of this pattern, which we will put on the top of that neckline, and that will take us up to this area, $2.54. And this coin is just getting started. For any of you out there thinking about holding this long term, let me give you some targets that you can look at to shoot for during the bull run, possibly even before. That will be $4.48, $4.93, and $5.55. I don't believe that those targets are too much to expect out of this, given the current supply of it and the market cap. a lot of your $1 billion supply coins easily make it up to $8 to $10. And true, this one will inflate over time, but for someone who gets in early, someone who gets one in when we're into the bottom territory, that's a good long-term hold in my opinion. I think this one is a good candidate to look at to see if it fits into your strategy, into your goals. Now, as far as indicators go, they are on fire. They're looking good on the weekly. Let's go ahead and look at the daily for a minute, and then we'll jump on down to the 4-hour. The 4-hour has more information that's current to us. You would think this would be getting tired, but it doesn't seem to be getting tired. It's actually starting to move parabolically, and we can see that better on the 4-hour. Ichimoku Cloud, one of my go-to indicators at this point in the cycle when price action is doing this, is saying everything is a go. Our stochastics are a little bit toppy, but they are still headed up. They still have room to go up. This is our second day into a green dot on Market Cipher. Money flow is still coming into the upside. VWAP is still looking good. There's still money coming in here. As long as Bitcoin acts right, if Bitcoin still stays bullish, this coin will still be doing good. We got a bullish cross here on the daily to 50 crossing the 100. That's very good. Once we see that blue line cross that yellow line, look out. And now for the 4-hour, for the traders out there looking for something more short term. Now, 4 hours showing some signs of being just a little bit tired, but not that tired because that money flow is still there. It's starting to curve around a little bit of a pullback. Now, there is some bearish divergence here. We see that price action is going to the upside. Indicators are moving to the downside. Even the momentum waves on Market Cipher are moving to the downside. That signals a pullback unless Bitcoin decides to go crazy again. But we see that our moving averages are kind of spread, but this guy is just testing the 9. It's still in a strong move, even with this bearish divergence. And there was no bearish divergence on the daily. There was none on the weekly. I've just run across it on the 4-hour. And it may not be a big deal because if price does get a strong push to the upside, RSI will also push to the upside, and then this bearish divergence can be easily nullified. And this is something that we got to pay attention to whenever we start seeing parabolic price action. So it did kind of flag out right here, and there is a measured move from that. We can take that and put it to the breakout, and that gives us a target which comes back up to an existing measured move, which we already mapped out on the daily of about $1.47. That's confluence that there's a good chance we'll make it up to that price. Now my Ichimoku cloud is starting to get a little thicker, a little closer, but it's still got room to just thin out again. What can happen in these very bullish moves is that we break to the upside of this bearish pattern. This is a rising channel. About 64 to 68% of the time, this will break down to the downside. If we break to the upside, expect a much bigger move. We may be setting up what we call steps for a much bigger parabolic move. And then suddenly some of these $2.30 price points don't seem that hard to attain. So guys, I'll pause my screen and let you look at the price targets that I've got here. If you guys are trading, those are some good targets to take profit, whether you're just flipping this coin or you're trying to add it to your bag for a long-term hold. Hopefully you found some useful information with this video. I definitely think it's worth a closer look for investors. And for traders out there, it looks like you could easily 2x your position doing a swing trade on this. If you get in on a retest, say about $1.20, get into this, take profits at 145, that's 21% gains. 27% gains at 152. If we make it up to our weekly resistance, 40% gains from this area. If we come up to this little fib box that I've got, 78 on up to 90% gains there. Not bad. Guys, please hit that like button if you appreciate the content that I've shared with you today. My name is Lane, your crypto road dog. Until next time, be blessed and remember, you got this.